Hello, everybody. We're excited to bring you another podcast this morning, and we're super excited about a special guest today. We've done a lot of these podcasts, and recently, if you've subscribed or been watching, you've noticed we've done a lot more industry-specific podcasts that have to do with the industry that we're a part of, the final expense life insurance industry. We've got a lot of subscribers in that field, and that's asked us over the months to share more insight, the things that we've learned about that business and industry over the years. And so we're super excited today. We've got the CEO and founder of Senior Life Insurance Company in Thomasville, Georgia. We're actually here in the Thomasville headquarters shooting this. So we're super excited to have Ron Powell with us today and to learn a little bit about the history of this company, this great company that we've partnered with this year. And excited about the growth to come and the things that we're actually implementing and learning from this gentleman. So anyway, Ron, super excited to have you, and just want to turn it over to you, let you tell a part of your story and kind of how all this started here.
Well, thank you, John, and thank you also, Justin, for coming over today. And I'm excited about sharing my background and excited about you guys joining and partnering and you getting single focus, single company. I'm just want to tell both of you, I appreciate your support and your commitment, and I look forward to the future. I've been in the final expense business now for about a little over 30 years, and I started as a single agent, traveling many different states, working leads. I was a lead junkie. And I look back today compared to what we had back then. It's kind of like going from riding a horse to having a car. Today, right. The way we do business is just so much different. And I always think that I could write a lot more business with the ammunition that we have today compared to how we did it back in 1989. And it's the people that we service and see are the same, but the way that we do business today is just so much different than what I did originally, which was door knocking and taking a map and taking a highlighter and mapping out your leads and going to different cities and staying in hotels 3 and 4 nights a week. I look back and I think that was probably, looking back, one of the key things that helped me be successful, because when I would drive 7 or 8 hours to a city that I'd never been to, and I was, say, 20 years old, it's kind of like feast or famine. You learn how to sell pretty good when you're off and you don't have much money to get back home, and you know that you got to make sales. And you got your family counting on you. So I think that probably helped make me a better salesman. And it's just fun to see where we're at today and the way we do business. And I look forward to 2021. But it's a tremendous business, and I encourage a lot of people on a weekly basis. And I sometimes wonder why they can't see the opportunity. And I sometimes wonder why I saw it so clearly, because, when you really think about a 20-year-old individual that's traveling 7 or 8 states, that really has no formal education other than high school, to start as an agent and work my way from an agent to becoming an agency director, to becoming an IMO, and then taking the next step and buying an insurance company. I wish more people saw what I see, and I just try to encourage people on a daily basis to expand their thought process, to dream bigger, want more. And, what I've always liked about this business, John, is that you get paid exactly what you're worth.
Right.
There's nobody that can hold you back. And, one of my biggest secrets from my success is that when you were sleeping, I'd be working. And, I didn't want to go through life the way that I'd seen my family go through life. I wanted more, and I wanted to have some of the luxuries that I seen others have. And I just made my mind up that I was going to do what it took to make that type life for my family. And, it's just amazing when you really think about one guy starting in the final expense business, basically being single-minded, single-focused with one company my whole career, where I am today and where I see senior life going. So I've got a lot that I'm sure that I'll share later in the podcast about 2021, but there's just such a tremendous opportunity. And what's so neat about, I think, what we do is it doesn't matter who the president is. It doesn't really matter how the economy is. People are dying, and people that die need our product. So we're in a recession proof. And, we were talking, John, before the podcast, if a state or the government does shut us down from seeing people door to door, it really doesn't slow our business down because we have the telesales option. So it's a great business, and it's a great time, and it's kind of recession proof. So,
Ron, I think one of the strengths, one of the things that has made Senior Life so great is the fact that it's an insurance company founded by an insurance agent, someone who's done the things that we do, that has been out and has sold thousands of policies, that's been in the trenches, that's done the work, and that's a rare thing in our industry. What were the key things that you learned or that you established as an agent that made you so good at this business?
Some things that I learned, and I learned early on, that made me different. First, let me just kind of tell you what system I was working back in those days, and that was I would get a set of leads from my manager on every Friday. And I'd get these leads, and these leads could be anywhere from my hometown, Thomasville, Georgia, to 5 states away. I had no say-so in anything. The leads came to me, and wherever those leads were, that's where I went. And, along the way, what made me, I think, really good was I found out that work ethic. And I know that may sound so simplistic, but I learned real early that Monday was the most important day of the week. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I learned that I needed to be at the first house at 9:00. And I needed to be at the last house at 9:00, but 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. Right. Because I learned that on Monday, if I made a sale before lunch, man, my week was just like I was on fire. Right. And every sale that I made, my confidence just got greater and greater. And I got to a point where I thought I was like King Kong, that I could sell anybody. So Monday at 9:00 was number one. Number two, what I found is that I don't know the exact percentages, but I would say 75% of my last appointment, and my appointment, whether it be me calling them and making an appointment or door knocking, the last one at night, I had a very high closing ratio. So, I learned that 9:00 in the morning and 9:00 at night was real important. And I learned that I needed to do that a minimum of 3 days a week. Monday was the most important day of the week. And if I scored real early, my confidence, as I said earlier, just got so great that my closing ratio was just it was just out of sight compared to if I didn't start at 9:00, or I started on Tuesday, or I started on Wednesday. I learned that this was my business, and I learned that if I didn't keep the doors open of my business, that I was not going to be able to sell my product. So 9:00 in the morning to 9 at night, 3 days a week, was my typical work week. And like I traveled anywhere from my hometown to Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee, all these different states as a young man traveling to those areas, staying in a hotel, working 20 leads a week. I learned these things from just experience of doing it. And what I liked about the business, and I learned early on that I was going to get paid what I was worth. Mm. And bear in mind, I don't have a college education. So, for some people, that's a stumbling block. For me, I found an industry where that didn't matter. Right. And I found an industry where the man that works the most or the woman that works the most is typically the person that's going to win. And along the way, I had many leaders, mostly bad, just to be real frank. There was a lot of leaders that I had that I didn't particularly like, but I didn't really care. Right. Because I knew at the end of the day, I needed to focus on my business. And I found the industry that I would get paid what I'm worth. And I kind of knew in the back of my mind that I would blow by that leader. And I didn't really never come out and say it to the leader, but I knew that if I did what I needed to do, and I focused on my store, and I kept the doors open on my store, there was no way to fail. I started working 20 leads a week. And a year or two after working, over and over in the field, I kind of started increasing my leads to 30 a week, to 40 a week. And I got to the point, John, where I knew on Friday before I went out in the field the next week what I was going to make, because I'd calculated in my head from previous experience what each lead was worth to me. Right. So when I started working 40 leads a week instead of 40 in 2 weeks, I just doubled my income. And it really is that simple. It's a very simplistic business. And I think a lot of times people are looking at a lot of the wrong things. The company has the easy job, John. Right. It's us agents that have the hard job. And it's us agents that pay the price to be away from our family and being in hotels. But it's your business, John, and it's your store. So you have to understand that you are the president of your business, the owner of your business, and you've got to take control. And I use that term president loosely. It's your business. And what you make of it is left up to you. Right. John, I could have made it with any insurance company. It didn't really matter, because the company, as I said earlier, has the easy job, and the company's just a tool. The tool won't dig a hole. I have to use the shovel as a tool, and it's kind of the same thing in this business. The company is important, but it's not the most important thing. Right. The most important thing is to be at the first house at 9 o'clock on Monday, 9 o'clock on Tuesday, 9 o'clock on Wednesday. And it's pretty much in that same step. It's a 1, 2, 3 process. Work 3 days a week, work a minimum of 20 leads every single week, if not more, and repeat number 1 and number 2. And if you do that, there's no way to fail. I've seen a lot of agents over the years come and go, and I wonder sometimes why more people can't see this opportunity. Right. And a lot of times I want it more for people than they want it. But at the end of the day, if I could, say what made me was my work ethic. And I'm so glad I was in a business where I could get paid what I'm worth.
Right. And you've continued that. You learned that work ethic. You figured out that, and even in what you do now as a CEO and as a leader of this company, you still have the same work ethic, and you still carrying on with that. So That's great.
So, Ron, you had mentioned earlier that, one thing with you is that you were known to be working while other people were sleeping. And, the time we're shooting this right now is right around Christmas time. And it's a time that we see in our industry, a lot of people just kind of coast. They let off the gas pedal. They, instead of Christmas being a day, they get this mentality and treat it like it's the entire month. And we know it's the Christmas season, and I love it as much as anybody. But, all my years in the business, I've wondered how a lot of people live, how they even have money for Christmas. A lot of insurance folks, because they tend to back down. This is a time where when the status quo person is slacking off and doing a bunch of nothing, and working, 1 day a week or half a day or whatever it is they're doing. This is the time that you can, when we're talking about Separation Nation, the title of the podcast, the things that separate super achievers from just your middle class, mediocre mindset, my four, no more type mentality. This is a time where you can really gain ground. The holidays, times when other people are letting off, that's a time that you can really double up, double down, and really make a lot of gains, make a lot of moves instead of just sitting there and being a status quo person, So, you'd mentioned earlier, even, working 3 days a week, but I know as well as all of us do, and I'm sure you had some times and days too. Some weeks it might take 5-6 days a week, but it's the wheel over skill. It's the having the will to win and understanding that if it will be, it's up to me, that you got to go out there every day and do. What separates, the biggest separator is successful people. Successful people do every day what unsuccessful people only do occasionally. So, what would you say to that? To the person that just, they just want to do the status quo, the minimum. You're not going to have a successful career in the final expense life insurance industry with that mindset at all.
I guess when you grew up poor the way I did and you wanted more, it didn't take me long to realize that I had got in an industry, kind of didn't grow up exactly wanting to be in this industry. It kind of found me to some degree. But, I'd mentioned earlier, my typical work week was 3 days a week. But going back, I knew what I was going to make the Friday prior to the week. So I want to make it clear, Justin, my normal work week was 3 days. But if it took 4 days sometimes, or if it took 5 days, because every week is not going to be, you're not going to get your sales on Monday.
Right.
But what I learned and what I knew, that if I did what it took and I made sure every week that I won, because at 6 o'clock on Friday or Saturday, the week's over. And I wanted my scoreboard to have the points that I won the game, which is I made the money that my family was counting on me making. So I had a goal back in 1989 when I started that I wanted to make $1,000 a week. And Justin, if it took more than the 3 days, I would be out there. If it took Thursday, if it took Friday, and even sometimes it took Saturday. The first year is the toughest year in the insurance industry or in this career. The first year is what you've got to get through and bust through. But you have to understand that you have to keep the doors open of your business. And that means that if it takes working Thursday, or if it takes working Friday, or if it takes working Saturday, that you're going to do what it takes to make the income that's going to be needed to support your family. Because when you look in the mirror every morning, when you brush your teeth or brushing your hair, you're looking at the person that's going to make your business or break your business. You're looking at the person that the responsibility is on your shoulders. And when you walk out of that hotel room or you walk out of your home, you've got to remember you have mouths to feed and you have your family counting on you. So you have to have the mentality that if it takes working more than 3 days, there was many times that I'd call back and get more leads during the middle of the week. And they used to call me like a lead junkie, and I was. 99.999% of every insurance policy that I've ever written has been off of a lead. And there's sometimes that I did have to call and get some more leads, but I never looked at leads as a cost. I looked as leads as an opportunity. And I knew if I didn't have the leads, which is the inventory in the store, why would anybody come to my store? And, I make these little analogies, and I have a lot of different ones over the years that I've kind of like played games with my own self. As far as I looked at myself as a UPS driver, that I had 30 leads or 40 leads, and my job was to go see each one of those leads, go present, go deliver the information that they asked for. And as long as I did that, I knew by Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, that I would make that $1,000. And I did not quit any week until I made that. Mm-hmm. And you're probably wondering, was there ever a time that you didn't make that? Justin, I'm sure they probably were, but I made it up. And if I didn't, for whatever reason it may be, because they may be one of those weeks that I can't really recall, I pushed harder that next week to make sure that I made up. I didn't just forget that week, because that week my family counted on me making some money. Mm-hmm. So I had to make it up. So that means if I had to make $2,000 that week to make up, I put that kind of pressure on myself. And again, as I said earlier, nobody can hold you back in this business. And that's what I've always loved, is that I did not care who my leader was, what my leader did, how he treated me. None of that mattered. I didn't care. I kept focused on my business, and look where I'm at today, to where 99.9% of the agents never reach success because they don't stay focused on what they can control.
That's right. And that's the beautiful part of this business too, because you mentioned earlier you'd make it up the next week. And I've always looked at it the same way. That 1 week is just one piece of the puzzle that's going to make the total picture for your whole month. That month that you're out working is just one piece of the puzzle that's going to make the production picture for you to reach your goal for the whole year. And the beautiful thing about the business is let's say you have a rougher week, or maybe you have an obligation or something, you missed 2 days in the field. You can go out that next week and make it up, as long as you stay persistently consistent. Persistent consistency, and I think you'll agree, is the key in this business, because if you don't let off the gas pedal, even if you've done everything you know to do that 1 week, but it was just a tough week. Let's say you went through 40 leads, but you, for some reason, and that would be highly abnormal, but you still didn't hit your number for whatever your goal is. If you take that same next week with the same momentum, same effort, and don't let off, that'll be the week that you'll do 25, 30% more to make up for what you missed last week. But that's where a lot of people, I think, miss it, is because they have the big week, then they let off the gas and coast and, half-tail it the next week until they just need to go hard again. And why would you do that? That's what puts you behind. And I've always said, John's heard me say this business is like a Maserati. You don't buy a Maserati to go 30 miles an hour. No, you buy that because you want to feel the power. You want to lay your foot to the floor. If you go fast all day, every day, why not go hard and fast? Why would you let off and just coast sometimes when you're in a vehicle as powerful as what our industry is?
Justin, again, I've seen thousands of agents over my 30-year career. And there was a time when I would interview an agent and I would say, man, this guy's going to be incredible, or this woman's going to be incredible, or this young kid's going to be incredible. And then there's times that I'm like, I don't know if this guy can make it at all. But that's what I like about our industry. You can't read a book by cover. And you can't figure out by talking to someone whether they can make it in this. They have to have an internal flame, an internal desire to be more, to provide more, to want more. And over my 30-year career, my goals and dreams have changed many times. My first goal was to make $1,000 a week. And back in 1989, that was a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And I did not quit. And if I had that tough week, I made it up. I didn't just wash that week away. I held myself accountable because there are 52 weeks in a year. And this is not just a 1 day or 1 week business. But if you stay focused on what you can control and you do go work the way that I'm sharing with you, you will win, and you will win big. And your career would just keep getting better and better and better. The more years you're in the business or in this business, the more income you're going to make, and the better your family's lifestyle is going to be. And I just keep repeating, it's your store, Justin. You're the one that's in control. And I can remember, and this is a little off the track, but I can remember when there was a leader that we had that he drank a lot. And in South Georgia, drink means he drank alcohol. And we was at a meeting one weekend, and the guy poured beer on a couple of the agents' heads, and all of a sudden there was about a fight break out. But we had a really great group, and this was back in 1992 or 3, and that guy, he was our leader, didn't even know what he had. And he's long gone, and look at where, and I keep saying me, I didn't do all this, but my point is that it does not matter what your leader does or doesn't do. Hopefully you have a leader that'll invest time and effort in you. And if you do, that's a plus. But if you don't make an excuse, because this is your business. And if you do step 1 and step 2 and repeat number 1 and 2 every week, you can have all the success that you ever desire. And you can go down the same road that I have. Mm-hmm. And I wish more people did want it the way I have, or does see it the way I do, because it's just such a great business, Justin. I mean, it's just incredible.
One thing, talking about leadership, and I love what you said. It didn't really matter who your leader was. You were going to make it. You were going to do what you had to do. And, one thing I've learned, the weakest leader in the world cannot hold me back. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. But on the flip side of that, the strongest leader in the world cannot make you do it. He can't do it for you. Like you said, you got to do. Nobody can do your push-ups for you. You got to do it yourself. And that's one thing we've seen a lot of, in this industry is in raising up leaders and managers and people that they have the same dream and vision we do of building their own teams. I see a lot of leaders get frustrated because of that, because they start to blame themselves for people's failures. That's something I feel like we have to tell them over and over. Look, you can't do it for them. They've got to want us. That's why it's so important what you just said on that. And I appreciate that.
You can have excuses or results, but you'll never have both. But what we see and what we've talked about and even talked about a little bit off camera is, and maybe you can speak some to that, but nobody ever exits the industry or quits or leaves and says, it was me. I didn't put in the work. The extreme ownership concept in today's world seems to be very sparse, but nobody ever leaves. It's always, they blame the leads or the leader, or, didn't like the way somebody smelled. I'm being ridiculous, but it's amazing the things you hear that people will utilize as a crutch or an excuse for their simple lack of will to win.
I tried to have a very good vetting process when I would interview someone. And, back in the day, I even took it to the next step, as I would take a guy out with me, because I wanted that person that I was interviewing to understand exactly what I did, how I did it, and the work ethic that it took. And even vetting as strong as you knew how. Even today, I still going through that same exact process. I would encourage you to do those things. But at the end of the day, you do not know what that guy or gal is going to do until they get out there. And I keep repeating, that is the beautiful thing about the business, but it is kind of the flip opposite when someone doesn't make it. You know, I wish everyone had the success that I've had. I want everyone to have the success, and it's here. And we keep improving the system, the model, and it just keeps getting bigger and better. And I'm just excited about where we're at and where we're headed.
So, Ron, tell us, what was the point where you decided you wanted to go from just being an individual producer, an individual agent, to actually building a team and actually reproducing yourself? And what were some of the steps you took and the things that you had to implement to do that?
You know, when you first get into business, you don't understand all the parts of it. So for the first year or maybe longer, I was just personally producing myself. And, you know, I was focused on myself and making the income that I wanted to make. But as I learned more about the business, I started to think about the leader that was leading me or the agency director. And I got the confidence that after I had spent time with those individuals that I could do what they were doing. And a lot of times I thought I could do it better.
Right.
And whether I could or couldn't, as long as I thought I could, that's really all that mattered. But, you know, I got a taste of the income. I got a taste of the money. And I loved working with seniors. And, you know, for me, John, it's kind of always been easy.
Right.
But in my belief, it's always been easy because I loved it, and I'll even love it more today than ever. But, you know, as I grew and I started making some money and I started traveling and seeing different things and, you know, just learning more about life in general, I said, you know, man, I've kind of conquered the personal sales side and I'm making really a good living, but what could I make if I started building? So I kind of used it as like a lot of my family were farmers, and it was like having 1 acre. What would 1 acre produce? Well, then what would 2 acres produce? And I kind of played that game was what would 1 agent mean and what would 2 agents mean? You know, and when I hired someone, I looked at that individual as a human being just like myself, and I wanted to treat that human being just like I wanted to be treated. But I also looked at it as an investment. You know, and when you're building your agency and when you're building manpower, it is an investment. Right. You get your returns later. Sometimes it takes some time for someone to get really good. Sometimes they're good right off the bat. But, you know, for you to have an investment, you have to want to put something in it. Mm. You know, and what I see with a lot of people today is that they want to skip that part. They don't want to put any thing in the individual. They don't want to really spend the time, really have the heart that you're talking and taking care of that individual the way you want it to be. You know, and I've always tried to treat that person the way I wanted to be. I've always tried to help the person. And I really meant it. You know, John, there was so many Saturdays for years that I would work on Saturdays, and I would be taking out agents that had come to work in my group. And, you know, because I wanted each one of them to have the same income level minimum that I had, which was $1,000 a week back in the day. And, you know, we had this kind of saying in my group, no man left behind. So there was many times that we would be on the road, and there'd be 3 people, 4 people, 8 people, 10 people, all in the same hotel, all working the same area. And there was many times that there was someone that was struggling. And what we did in my group is we had the saying, no man left behind. If someone needed our help and we all were doing good and we kind of had the weeks we wanted on Wednesdays, we'd stay and help that guy. We'd go out there and sometimes we'd even write business and code it to him. And we just had a bond that I think you have to have in building a team and in building an agency. And I don't see that happening a lot today.
Right.
Everybody wants it to happen fast. And don't get me wrong, I'd like to happen fast too, but this is not a 40-yard dash. This is a marathon. And if you're not willing to invest in that person and you're not willing to take that person out if they need help, or if you're not willing to, to take them out on Saturday, don't hire them. Don't start developing a group of people if you're not going to take care of those people like you needed or like you wanted when you were hired. Now, my point is, I'm not going to tote you. And I did tote a lot of people early on. I learned my lessons. I'm going to teach you. And I'll work with you as much as you want to work and as many times as we need to, as long as I know you putting the effort in. Right. Back in the day, a lot of times the low producers would be back at the hotel at 4:00 in the afternoon. And a lot of times we'd ride by the hotel to just see if our agents were there. And, I always made it a point that I was the first one out and the last one in. But if you got an agent that's at the hotel at 4:00, what do you think his problem is, John? Mm-hmm. And, what you have to do at that point is you have to have a heart talk with that individual. And every Friday, the scoreboard for my personal self and for my group was at 5 or 6 o'clock. And I knew every Friday who the individuals that I needed to be talking to that day, working with on Saturday, and who would be in my car the following week. And if you understand that each individual is an investment, and you'll take the approach to not hire someone if you're not going to give them everything you got. And I'll tell you, John, there's a lot of times you'll give them everything you got, and some people just won't make it.
Right.
Sometimes you cannot make someone want what you want for them. But I'm going to go back to something earlier I said in the podcast. If you will do 9 o'clock to 9 o'clock 3 days a week, there's pretty much a fail-proof system. Because I can teach someone how to sell. I can't teach someone how to want.
Right.
Or how to work. I mean, that, to me, I grew up where work isn't just a normal part of my life.
Right.
So I've never looked at this as work. Honestly, I've said many times, I thought this business was so good it should be about illegal. The kind of money that you can make and where you can go. And, I just encourage individuals today to take some of these basic thoughts and basic concepts and put them to work. It still works today the same way it worked 30 years ago. We're in a people business, John.
Right.
And don't hire someone if you're not going to invest in them. And that, to me, that probably hurts me the most at Senior Life today, because it's hard as you grow nationwide. It's hard to have leaders that have the same passion, the same thoughts, and we try our best. And sometimes we may fail in that area. But I can promise you, if you work with me, I was going to invest in you. And there would be some times I'd have a heart-to-heart with people and just tell them this wasn't for them.
Right.
And I didn't string them along. And if I felt that way, I'd tell them that. And, I'd always ask the guy or the girl, could I be frank and honest with them? And they would say, yeah. And I said, now, what I want to tell you, I don't want you to get mad at me. But sometimes you have to let people down. And, as a human being, if you know that person's not going to work, you're better off to go ahead and help that person to something that they can be successful in.
Right.
It's just about caring, John. And our society is we're growing further and further away from that. And I think in this business, if you're going to be successful, you got to entrench yourself in that. If you don't care about someone, I don't think you'll ever be able to build this business.
Well, you got a system. I mean, the thing about, Senior Life, I think that the system that works is the same system that you created by, testing it, by putting it to work. If you'll work 20 leads every week, you give 15 presentations every week, close at least 5 of those people every week. You break it down into numbers, and if you'll do that over and over and then begin to duplicate yourself in that process and teach other people, just look, it's a simple system. Just do it over and over and over. The numbers don't lie. It'll work. You just got to work it,
Sometimes it sounds too simple.
Yeah.
But most of the time when someone's failing, they're not doing what they agreed to do when you hired them. And a lot of times, even today, I would encourage you to make the individual write down the 3 things that it's going to take and get them to commit, because I had this a lot of times when I was leading people on a one-by-one basis. My first question when someone is telling me that they're struggling, I would ask them, were they at the first house at 9 o'clock today?
Yeah.
How about yesterday? How about the day before that? And if they wasn't, John, you know what I'd do? I'd say, I can't help you because you haven't done step 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
And if you don't do step 1, 2, and 3, there's nothing that I can say that's going to help you, because it's kind of like a train. You're not on the track. The track that you've been out with me, you've seen it. I've seen you do it. And it's the track that you agreed to. If you don't take leads every week, you're not going to be successful.
Right.
You're just not. I mean, and sometimes agents get afraid of leads and they look at it the wrong way. Without the leads, you're out of business. It's like having a store with the doors locked. The leads is the secret to this business. I had this saying for years: the man that could generate the highest quality lead at the lowest cost is the man that was going to win. And that's why 28 years ago or so, we got into our own print shop and where we can control our own leads. And we've done that for years because that's a very vital organ that makes the body of what we do work. And, that's an area that we're really good at. And you said something earlier that I do think that I need to reiterate, is that I'm a final expense agent, just like what you are. And just like the person that's going to come to work. I'm not a doctor, a lawyer, a CPA that's leading this company. And I can't take all the success. Our system keeps improving by having great people like you guys that join us and that have good ideas. If a good idea comes up in this podcast, you know how quick we can put it in place? This afternoon. Right. And those are the things that make Senior Life different. And a lot of times when someone compares us, they only want to pick out the area that they feel like what they have is better. But Senior Life today has the single greatest, simplest, total platform of any final expense company in America. And I got hurt in 2009 and it hurt our company for probably about 7 or 8 years. But I'm 99% back, and I think you can see the last couple of years what has happened, and you can see what's happening today and where we're headed. And, it's just a great time. And Senior Life is a great place to be if individuals can see the big picture. John, you said something earlier about agents and having multiple companies, and for some reason, sometimes agents think that. Mm-hmm. And like you guys had multiple companies, and I always have looked at the industry and what my competitors do, and the people that were the most successful before me were single focused, single company individuals. And that's why I've always been that way. And, I have the belief is if multiple companies was the answer, why are those organizations not bigger than companies like us? And, again, we have a total platform. We can be beaten one given area, but as a total platform, that's where we really shine, having health insurance, having benefits. There's more to senior life than just the product and just the commission and just the underwriting. I knew you guys from a business standpoint even before we knew each other. And, I had tried to reach out a couple of times over the years because y'all were 45 minutes from our corporate home office and you were in the final expense business. And I always said to myself, I'm like, why are these guys 45 miles from a final expense company? They should be with us. And I kind of watched you guys grow, and it kind of made me mad that the few times that I tried to get your attention, for whatever reason I didn't. And I didn't know that maybe you didn't even get it, or maybe you didn't get my email, maybe you didn't get my letter. But, I never quit.
Right.
And I'm a believer sometimes getting good people takes a little time. And it's kind of interesting. From my previous company, I interviewed a guy this past week that took me 6 years to get. 6 years. And he told me from the very beginning and many years through it, you can't get me. You can't. I wouldn't leave where I'm at for nothing. You can't get me. And I never got mad, and I always watched the guy, and I saw actually more talent in him than what he was producing. But guess what happened? That phone call came one day. 6 years. This happened just in Louisiana in the last 10 days. So it takes time to build a business. It takes commitment. It takes desire. Most people are looking for something other than work. And they may be some other businesses that you can do that don't require work. But what I like about what we do is I know it requires work, but that's where I know I can control myself. And if you can control yourself in the work ethic, you will be super, super successful. And I'm excited about where we're going. I was excited about where you guys came on board. And, talking about Christmas, you said something earlier. I always needed more money during Christmas. So, December was always a great month for me because, I wanted to do more for my family. I wanted to buy them Christmas gifts, and I wanted them to have things that maybe I didn't have. So I had a great December, always did and always will. But, going back to some things that separate senior life is one of probably the biggest things from a financial is we allow our leaders to own stock in the insurance company. And that's a whole nother subject we could talk on for hours. But just think about owning stock in a young company that's growing. And you guys are young individuals. And just think 20 years from now and 30 years from now, what and where you can be and what you can build for your family. I want more people to do what I've done. And I'm going to try my dead level best to get more people to see it and get more people plugged in and enjoying the success this business has to offer. Because I don't like seeing anyone fail that comes on board. And, we know in the insurance business, it's a high turnover business. It really is. And, it's high here. But I've always had less turnover with some of the points that I've shared with you guys this morning. And I think if you do some of those things, your turnover will be less. But, you can't get caught up in the people that don't make it as far as why. if you've showed them, you've taught them, you've invested in them, then that's all you can do, guys. Then what you have to do is stay in control of the number of people that you're hiring. And I don't understand why more people can't see it. And I'm going to do my best to get more and more people to see it. But it's a great business. And that's why, you find a great company that you want to work with, that you fit with, find the people that you enjoy working with, and anchor down and go to work and build your business. And 2 years from now, 3 years from now, if you do these things, you will build a business and it would just keep growing and growing and growing. It actually gets to the point it made me look a lot smarter than what I am. When you've got thousands and thousands of policies that you're getting a little commission on every time they make a payment. Justin, John, I've got policies that are 30 years old that I'm still getting paid on today. It's the greatest thing that I didn't know exactly how all this worked when I started, but just think about over the years, the thousands and thousands of policies that have been written that every month I get a little commission check from them. And that thing keeps paying until the day they die. I spend 45 minutes with a customer, make $700, $1,000, $1,500, and I make a commission every time they make a payment. Mm. Tell me what industry you can get in and invest really nothing but your time and have this type of opportunity. Mm-hmm. Most opportunities that when you're talking about making millions, you've got to invest, and it would knock me out because I didn't have nothing to invest to begin with. And that's what's so great about it and why I want to see more people have success is it really don't take anything but time. And if you're willing to put the time in it, you will be successful. And you should be able to go further than what I have. Mm-hmm. The path has been laid down. And yes, we're going to continue to improve. That's just who we are. But at the end of the day, you've got to go do the work. And I encourage individuals to take advantage of this opportunity. I encourage them to let's take Senior Life to becoming the number one senior company in America. And I'm confident that will happen in the next 36 to 60 months.
That's awesome. What would you say to, you mentioned points earlier. And one thing in our industry, especially now with social media being what it is, and you got all these different groups, final expense groups and communities online and all this stuff. And the way that's impacted the industry. And now you find a lot of young folks that are in the industry. I've seen it time and time again that are doing good, maybe a year in, year and a half in, 6 months in, doing great, making more money than ever before. But with all the noise and, all the recruiting and all the points chatter and, as far as the industry goes, what I've heard you talk about that some before, but, these folks that are they're always looking for the higher point and the better deal. And my personal experience is we see those people a lot of times out of the industry fairly quick. They never flourish. They never stay anywhere very long. They kind of keep hitting restart on their career, always looking for they think points is the answer is what I'm saying. I've heard you talk about that some before, but
social media is an outlet that is used a lot today that back in my early career, there was no such thing, and everybody that ever talks to an agent that works with Senior Life, if they're trying to recruit them, their system's better, their pay's better, they're this, they're that. And, I just tell individuals, look at the total package. Find the company and the people that you enjoy working with and put your anchor down. Yeah. Because there's always going to be people trying to recruit you. There's always going to be people trying to recruit your agents. And that's kind of just part of the business. And, what I try to share is that none of that really matters. What matters is what I can control. And as long as I focus on the things I can control, the opportunity that we have here is as good as it is anywhere, if not better. You know, it's kind of funny that you bring up the points and that, and people get fixated. That's something that we're going to be doing a little different in 2021. And that's an improvement that we're going to be making, because I have the belief that everybody should have the same opportunity that I've had. And that's the direction that we're heading, as far as every single person that comes on with us starting January 1 of 2021 has the same exact opportunity that I've had. But it's kind of like being in the sports. You got to be able to score points. If you can't score points, where are you going to play at? You're going to ride the bench. Are they paying those people millions of dollars that are on the bench, or are they paying the people that scoring the points millions? It's the same way in this industry. You're going to get paid what you're worth. But we're going to take that fixation of commissions and thinking points matter. They do matter. They do. But that's not, it's going to be the make or break 5 or 10 points here or there. It's not.
Right.
You know, get caught up more on seeing more people, whether it be hiring more people or making more presentations, because that's what's going to make you more money.
That's right.
And, you know, again, I truly believe, because I try to put myself in the other person's shoes, I truly believe, and I think we can put it on a screen and factually break it right down the line. I think we have the single best total package in America. And you know what, guys? We'll continue to improve it. And it will come from people like you that will give us ideas, and others that we might need to modify or change. And that's something that Senior Life is, I pride myself as I try to be brutally honest and look at it. If someone's making a point, I try to look at it through their shoes and their eyes, because I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I know everything and that I'm the smartest person at Senior Life and I've done all this. I can't take that credit. This is done over the years from many, many great people that work here, and that has worked here, and some died and moved on. You know, I'm 51 or 2 now, and it's hard for me to believe that 30 years has went by so fast. And all I can do is encourage the new people to get on board, stay focused, stay in control of what they can control. And 5 years go by so fast, and 10 years go by so fast. And that monthly check, it keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. You know, I could have quit in 2009, the day that I had my injury, if I wanted to. I had enough money at that time to quit. And, you know, a lot of people probably would. But I'm not a quitter, and I have not accomplished the dreams that I have right now yet. You know, and Senior Life's got a long way to go. We do. And we've got a lot of opportunity. And I just can't wait to continue to see our growth and where we are 12 months from now. You know, I said earlier, we're in a recession-proof business. We've had another 40% growth this year over last year.
Wow.
Same thing last year over the year before. And I see that continually happening with the new platform, some of the things that we're modifying and changing. If it's just going to help continuing to take us to the top. And it's not far now. It's not far whatsoever. It's I can see it real clear. And it's individuals like you that help us get there. And I want to tell both of you, I appreciate you trusting, believing, and basically throwing every company that you work with in the garbage and getting focused on one. And it takes a lot of willpower to do that. And I appreciate that. And I can tell you have to do that. You're the only person that can make that decision, but you did. And, you lost a few people, and that's okay because you did what you thought was the best for your family. And we had this conversation. It's the same conversation I'd have if I went back to one agent myself. I still would be successful because it doesn't take long to build a big business. Mm-hmm. If you're fired up, you're motivated. I've ate, breathed, bled. This industry becomes part of your DNA. Mm-hmm. And when you have it part of your DNA, that's when you really have the success that I'm talking about. I'm talking about success of where your children you're working for, basically. When I was growing up, I heard what trust fund babies. I wasn't any of that, but that is what can happen in this industry. And I encourage more people to control what they can and block out all the chatter and all the things that don't matter. That's right. Get your wife and your family supporting you and go to work with the people that you enjoy and hold hands and build something.
We're like you said, we made a big move and, coming to Senior Life, it was a very different direction from the direction we had been. So kind of, took us, we had to chew on that one a little bit. We had multiple meetings for weeks and weeks. And, but once we got to know you, got to know the heart of the company, got to see to really understand what all Senior Life has to offer. And, that it is, out of anything we've ever worked with, the best overall platform, we believe, in the final expense life insurance industry, period. Once we was able to see exactly, and it's kind of crazy, again, we were just 40 minutes down the road, but we really had never looked behind the curtain, so to speak, other than passing the building, driving through Thomasville, working leads or headed to Tallahassee. We just had never gave a real strong look. And once we did and realized the opportunity for growth, which is what we're super excited about, something that's so much more scalable on a national level, which is why we're here. For one of the first meetings you asked us, what do y'all want to do? And I think I told you that day. I said, I wake up pissed off every morning because while we've had a lot of success with what we was doing, nowhere near where we want to be. And, kind of just waking up, divinely discontent, you want to have more than even what you've had and take more people with you. Well, the Senior Life platform, and John and I's opinion, is the platform to not just further our forward no more, but to be able to scale on a scalable level to take a lot more people with us and to have that growth. And we've had a little pruning to be able to have that growth. Everybody's not going to understand your dream and your vision, but at a certain point too, you got to understand you got to stop trying to let some blind people proofread your vision. You know what I'm saying? So everybody's not going to see it, and that's okay. And they may see it in the future and come back. They may not. Don't matter. It doesn't change what our vision is, what our mission is, and what we know with Senior Life is the best overall platform to help us reach our goal, and then in turn us partner with you. And thank you for continuing to reach out. I don't know why we misconnecting for a couple of years there, but I'm glad you didn't quit and give up on us and say, well, hey, well, those guys. But we're appreciative. So thank you for thinking enough of us to reach out to us, and we're excited about where we're headed. We're super excited about, because even though Senior Life has accomplished so much, I know in all the meetings, and we had some long meetings, 4 and 5 hour meetings there the first month or so weekly. But I know in hearing your heart and vision for the company, you almost, even though you've done so much, done more than most, we really kind of feel like we're getting on ground level.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because just the future growth and where the company is headed as a whole. So,
and a theme that has carried through from the beginning of our conversation with you, from you talking about being an individual agent and doing the things when you began. The theme I keep hearing about is you set goals. even from when you were selling individual, from working leads, you had a goal at the end of the week of what you wanted to accomplish. You knew on a Friday how much money you'd make the next week because you had a goal in front of you. And that's the thing I've seen is you've continued to build on those goals every year. And even now, we've been in part of organizations and industries with people who, in their 50s are cashing out. They're at the end of the road. They don't have a vision for anything any bigger, or they're not setting goals to go any further. But, one thing we all three hold in common is we got big goals of so much more that we want to accomplish. And it's those goals that keep me up at night and probably keep you up at night that, I want to do so much more. And, we're finally found that vehicle that we feel like, where we are right now doesn't matter. It's where we're going. And that's what drives all of us. And it's just good to find a partnership with people who think the way we do, and see it the same way.
John, I think probably the most important thing that we've said is the people and what the heart of senior life. Sometimes people don't see that, and sometimes they may not get to spend time and understand. And we've been fortunate enough because we're real close. You have got to see behind the curtain, as maybe you said earlier. More than just having a contract and going out and writing policies for an insurance company. And when you're in the insurance business, you can choose anybody. But I think what makes us really different is the people. And if people will give enough time to come and experience and understand and see really more into senior life, I think it would help them a lot. And, again, you guys threw every company that you had in the garbage and said, I'm going to go full force, 100%. And when you do that, you will win. You will get to where you want to get. And, one thing I think we probably all will have in common, no matter how much success we have, we feel like we're not where we need to be. And that's what keeps us going, and that's what's going to continue to keep us going. But, again, it's individuals like the two of you and your families that make senior life. And I'm going to do everything in my power to continue to find the kind of people that fit us. And I think that is really the single most important part, because it's the people that make the company. The company don't make the people.
That's right.
And we've got great people, and we're going to continue to get more. And yes, we are in the insurance industry. We're not nowhere close to being where we want to be, and we are still ground floor. So I appreciate everything that you've done so far, but we've not even scratched the surface yet. And I can't wait to see the next 12 months, the next 24 months, 5 years from now, where you will be. And it's going to be some very hard days ahead of you working, but you're going to get rewarded. And I'm excited for us all.
Well, yeah, it's super exciting. And I want to, again, thank you for sitting down with us today. It's been exciting. We could go all day. We could just sit here and talk all day, but I think that's a good place to kind of wrap it up. And, for the ones of you that's joined us today, I know it's a little different. I've loved it. It's been a great podcast, one of the favorite ones we've ever done. And, we call it Separation Nation because we study the separators that successful people have found, the things they do differently. And I'll say this, and Justin, I know he agrees. There's so many things that make senior life different from any company we've ever worked for, but it all has to do with the people, and good people attract good people. And so that's one of the major differences with senior life. So I thank you for that. Thank you for your time, and thank you for everything you're doing and continue to do for us to help us.
Thank you.